Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to literary theory. Today we would like to discuss about postcolonialisms as one of the literary theory that we can use to analyze literary works. Okay, first we go to the definitions of postcolonialisms. Postcolonialisms deals with the effect of colonializations on culture and society. The effects has a so many kinds of effects. So there are various cultural effects of colonializations. So in colonializations, it's begin by the imperialisms. The imperialisms begin, as you have ever read in a history book, begin from the search for gold, glory, and gospel, or 3G. So the European peoples, with their technology after the Renaissance, they went to a lot of places to find the gold, glory. To find the gold here means to find natural resources from many nations in the east, including Indonesia. And then they want also find a glory. Glory here means they want a victory. They want to take the land as their part of kingdom. And then the gospel. Gospel here, they also spread the religions of Christianity to many places, many nations around the world. And then from the imperialisms, the Western or the European peoples starts to dominate the economy, the politics, and they start to claim their area, claims that certain nations belong to them. In other words, they begin the colonialization. It means that they make a colony, they make their own colony in different places around the world. Now, from the imperialisms and colonialization, there appear two different classes of people. The first is colonizer, and the second is colonized. Colonizer here are people who oppress, who colonized. So in these cases, it's Western peoples, while the colonized here, people who are being oppressed or being colonized. For example, the Indian people, the Indonesian peoples, etc. Colonizer tend to oppress, while the colonized tend to be oppressed. So it is not stopping in the 17th or 18th centuries. It continued in the industrial revolutions. In industrial revolutions, Western people need a lot of resources to build their industry. They need the natural resources to be processed into products, and then they will sell it around the world to get the profits. For example, here, England or Great Britain, they occupy India and Ceylon. They took a lot of natural resources there, especially the tea plantations, and they created products that now we can still find it in supermarkets. That is Lipton tea. You can find in a supermarket. It is a part of England colonizations in Ceylon, or we call it in Sri Lanka. And then in the Second World War, and the First World War, yeah, colonialization is also in forms of many industries, such as the train industry, especially for military industry, because in the First and the Second World War, Westerns with their allies had a great industry on weapons and the armies, etc. So what did the colonizers do? The colonizer, the Western here, they made the slavery. So lots of Westerns took African peoples to be sold in America or to other European countries to be a slave. And Westerns also exploit natural resources and human resources. They built many plantations and they took all the results of the natural resources for their own profit. They also employed people in the colony with very low wages or very low salary. Even they didn't pay for the worker because it is a kind of slavery. They treat the workers like a slave, or in Indonesia we know as kerja rodi. However, with all the cruelties they made, they try to hide that. They try to manipulate so that Western will not blame as a cruel people. They manipulate the culture by the process of othering. Othering here means creates the identity of others. For example, here, Western create the identity of Indian as a cruel, Indians as people who are uncivilized, means, even they slaughters white peoples. But it is a liar. It is a liar. This kinds of manipulation is for covering the cruelty of Western peoples. So it is a kind of deception. The same here, the othering also, the examples of othering, as you can see in the picture here. In the othering, Western creates the identity of Indians as exotics, Indians as someone who are wearing the feather in the head and then bringing the axes, riding a horse, etc., etc. And all those identity influence the way people see about Indians. And then Western also manipulates the cultures by making a stereotyping. For example, here, as you can see, there are two people from different religions. They have almost similar appearance. The first is a Jew and the second is a Muslim. They all have beards. They all have caps. However, the Muslims with their beard will be regarded or stereotyped as a terrorist. But the Jew with their beards, they will not be claimed as a terrorist. The same here. Islamic or Muslimah with their own hijab, also stereotypes as a terrorist. They are also stereotyped as someone who are oppressed with their hijab. However, people will see the nun here. Nun here is we call it also as the pious women in Christian traditions. They also wear what we call as hijab. They also wear the veils, but people will not say that she is under oppressions. No. In this picture, you can see when a Western woman, decided to uh, get out from her job, and then she decided to take care her child, people will see her as a wow, she is a good woman, sacrificing her life for her house. However, it will be different when the woman who decide to be a housewife is a Muslim. People will see her as oppressed, will see her as victims of patriarchy, etc. And the last here, when a Jew kills someone, religion is not mentioned in the televisions, but when a Muslim charged with a crime, it is Islam that goes to trial. So the stereotypes of Islam, a Muslim as a terrorist, stereotypes women in veil as being oppressed, a victim of patriarchy, while the other non-Muslim are not stereotyped with the same kind. It is kinds of stereotyping. As a result of the oppression, of the othering, of the stereotyping, there will be a resistance or perlawanan. Resistance, whether in forms of physical resistance or in other non-physical resistance. There will be also mimicry when the oppressed or the colonized try to imitate the way of life, the style of the colonizer. So, for example, here, when Indonesians peoples imitate the way Westerns live, and then the way Western fashions, etc., etc. It is a kind of mimicry. When colonized imitates the way of life of the colonizer. What about in literature? In literatures, we find, for example, here in Marah Rusli novels with the title Siti Nurbaya. I think you all have known about Siti Nurbaya's story. In this story, the oppressor or the colonizer is Dutch, while the colonized is Indonesian's people. In this case, is Padang Panjang's peoples. Yeah. The colonizer, the Dutch here, is represented by the Batavia, and all peoples that supports the Dutch in the Batavia. In this case is Samsul Bahri. Samsul Bahri here fall in love with Siti Nurbaya. However, because Siti Nurbaya's family were in debt with Datuk Maringgi. Datuk Maringgi is an elder, is an old man who were rich in the Padang Panjang, And then Siti Nurbaya family decided to marry Siti Nurbaya to Datuk Maringgi, and then Samsul Bahri were disappointed, and he went to Batavia and to be a Dutch army. And one day, Samsul Bahri with the Dutch army were sent to Padang Panjang, and in Padang Panjang, Samsul Bahri fight with the Datuk Maringgi and all people of Padang Panjang. From this story, we know that Datuk Maringgi as a native, Datuk Maringgi as an Indonesian man, the leader of the Padang Panjang people against the Dutch, was stereotyped as old, as a woman craving. Woman craving here means mata keranjang. Okay? Datuk Maringgi is stereotyped as the someone who are very rich but like to oppress other people. While the Dutch here, represented by Samsul Bahri, is stereotyped as a like Romeo, is romantic, is charming, loving man, etc. However, he was in the Dutch side. So Datuk Maringgi is a kind of colonial stereotyping. Dutch wants to teach to Indonesians that never be a fighter, Indonesian fighter, because Indonesian fighter is like Datuk Maringgi. Yeah. While Dutch also said directly that Samsul Bahri as a protagonist is a ideal types of man, although he belongs to Dutch. Okay, that is the examples of postcolonials reflected in literary works. You can also find many other literary works that contains the colonial value. That's all for today. Thank you very much for listening. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.